All right, back here on this Tuesday edition of The Sweat. I'm Emerson Lotzi, Jesse Cofield, back from her 5-week vacation. And now, everybody, we have a 6-game NHL slate on the docket tonight. Steve is not here to talk about it, but we do have Paul Bruno from RotoWire and also Pete Jensen, host of the Fantasy on Ice podcast for NHL.com. I'm very excited for this segment of NHL Opening Faceoff.
So am I. Paul's guy, Auston Matthews, is the highest priced center on the slate tonight in a very favorable matchup against Columbus. However, he has been held off the score sheet in his last 2 games. So is Matthews a fade for you tonight at that price, Paul?
I fade him, but I'm going to use his line mates because he's just too expensive tonight. That's the only reason. But there's 4 other mismatches on the board at center, Jesse, that I want to touch on real quick. Barkov for $8,300 versus a reeling Preds team. People may not know they're on a 4-game losing streak right now. He has 13 points and 37 shots on goal in his last 10, primed for another big offensive output to lead the NHL's highest scoring team. Ryan Hartman of Minnesota is similarly profiled, $6,800, a cheap price tag for him. Center on their first line, 11.3 DraftKings points per game on the year, centering a top power play unit against an Ottawa club. And then Thomas Hertl is centering the hottest winger in the league, Timo Meier, right now. $5,500 his price tag at Anaheim. He's got 9 points in his last 10 games. And finally, Ryan O'Reilly, $5,700 for a St. Louis club that should be all over Philadelphia tonight.
All right, Pete, what do you think? Matthews a fade because he's just too pricey here?
Yeah, it's tough with Toronto. It's so fickle. You know, you love them one game, you can't stand them the next game when they lose to Montreal. So it's really tough to gauge Toronto on a nightly basis. I'd much rather have Aleksander Barkov for $1,000 cheaper in DraftKings price. Couple other guys I like on the center position, definitely Joel Eriksson Ek. With what he's doing on Minnesota's first power play, I think is a really good value at the center position, and still a guy over $5,000 that you'll have to spend a bit for, but he's got 5 points in his past 4 games, and a bunch of those coming on the first power play unit where he plays with Kaprizov and Zuccarello and Matt Boldy. So never a bad thing to get some Minnesota Wild action in your DFS lineup because they're extremely deep, and Eriksson Ek is proof of that, because he plays on their third line at even strength.
All right, well, some solid plays. I'm looking here at the wing tonight, above 7K. Kaprizov, you've got Marner, Meier, which Paul's already mentioned, Tarasenko, all going up against teams that like to give up goals, too. So who is your favorite high-priced option on the wing tonight, Paul?
If you want Toronto exposure, like I said, I want to go for Mitch Marner. Save $1,000 on the Matthews tag and take Marner here. I think the Leafs are going to be really ticked off, and they're going to take it out on a Columbus team that's going to be fielding their third string goalie tonight. Timo Meier, I said, he's the play on the wing for me. 8 goals his last 10 games, along with 49 shots on goal in his last 10. That's the most prolific shooter in the league right now among the wingers. And then Matt Zuccarello. I mean, Pete touched on Minnesota's offense, and Zuccarello's been a key part of that. 16 points in his last 10 games played. You get him for $6,500 tonight.
All right, Pete, where are you going here on the wing, man?
I'm going Patrick Laine, the other side of that Toronto matchup against Columbus. I mean, nobody's hotter than this guy. He's got a 9-game point streak with 18 points in the span. That's real points, so not DraftKings. Really impressive what he's been able to do in a bounce-back season since coming back from that injury. You know, he's been extremely motivated, and he's looking like the Patrick Laine of old, where 3-4 years ago you would have said, who are the, 2 hands worth of most exciting players in the NHL. Patrick Laine certainly would have been on that list. He's playing with Boone Jenner and Jacob Voracek. Jenner's having a breakout season. Voracek is a great distributor, so that all affects Patrick Laine. And when you look at Toronto giving up, those goals over the weekend to the Blues, and then, bad outing against Montreal recently, it's the stage is set for Patrick Laine to continue what he's been doing in a very positive light fantasy-wise.